Good afternoon, everyone. iTech India welcomes all the participants to today's National Distance Learning Seminar. Today's topic is rapid initiation of ART for newly diagnosed PLHIV at ARTC, and the speakers are Dr. Chinmay Das from NACO, Dr. Reshu Agarwal from CDC India, and Dr. Anwar Parvez Sayed from iTech India. We welcome you all to today's session. Over to you, Chinmay ma'am.
Thank you, Sweta. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. A very good afternoon to everyone. So today's NDLS, it's a special session. This follows the OM that has been issued by NACO on the 11th of January, which is regarding the rapid initiation of ART for all newly diagnosed PLHIVs at the ART centers. So we all are aware that after the treat all policy was launched by NACO, we wanted that every patient who is detected positive as at ICTC is immediately referred to ART center, and as soon as possible, the patient should be started on ART. However, what we saw from the data in the last 2 years, that there is a big significant proportion of people who are diagnosed positive. However, they are not being initiated on ART. So our protocols, we follow the guidelines that we followed so far was we will do a very comprehensive assessment and evaluation of every patient, and they'll go through the series or battery of tests, the laboratory investigations, the counseling, then taking a stock of many other things, and the patient had to come to ART center a lot of times before actually he or she is initiated on ART. So probably this is one of the reasons for which we had many patients who were turning out as pre-ART LFU. So to decrease or minimize the pre-ART LFU, this is one of the significant steps which NACO has undertaken. And with the help of our partners from CDC, iTech, WHO and other partners, so the guidelines that have been developed, this has also been vetted by the technical resource group for ART. And it was decided that we will ensure that we do a rapid initiation of ART, and wherever possible, same day initiation of ART. So how to do that? How do we ensure that we are on the right track? How do we ensure that we are actually not deviating from the guidelines? What are the additional steps we need to take? What are the steps the medical officer has to take, counselor, LTs? So these additional steps that each of the staff of ART center should be aware. So for having this, for getting you all oriented on this, so we have kept this special session on NDLS. And I'm sure there are a lot of doubts which you all have. So we'll ensure that we take up all your doubts, and please feel free to write all your questions in the chat box, or at the end of the session, or whenever you are asked, please unmute your mic and do let us know what are your concerns, what are the challenges that you will face if you are going to implement this, and whenever and wherever you have started implementation, what are the issues you are facing. So do let us know. So this is basically one initiative which is going to help us ensure that we have most patients adherent to ART. We are retaining them in care, and of course, decreasing the pre-ART LFU. So having said this, I'll now hand over the session to Dr. Reshu and Dr. Anwar for taking it further and discussing all the details that we have regarding this rapid initiation of ART. Thank you. Dr. Reshu, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinmay. And I think you already set a very good background for this session and why NACO actually issued this guideline for rapid ART initiation. Can I have next slide, please? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can I have next slide, please?
Yes, Dr. Reshu, one second.
Okay. So as Dr. Chinmay laid out that in today's session, we would be mainly discussing about the TREAT-all policy and how it syncs into the rapid ART initiation policy. We'll try to comprehend the rationale for rapid ART initiation, understand the benefits of rapid ART initiation for the program as well as for the patients, discuss in detail on the algorithm which has been issued by NACO for the assessment of patients for rapid ART initiation. We'll also try to understand the special situations which do not warrant rapid ART and need some sort of a delay in ART initiation. And then we will open up for questions and answers. So we'll try to keep our slides very brief so that we have like more time for interaction at the last. And if you have any questions, please keep asking them, or please keep noting them in the chat box so that they can be addressed by the speakers. So you know that in 2017, NACO actually issued the guidelines for TREAT-all policy, and that's where all patients who were diagnosed with HIV were eligible for ART initiation, regardless of CD4 count or WHO staging, or whichever age group they belonged or whichever population they belonged to. Because and some of you who belong to the program or who are working with the program for a long time would recall that before that we had various cutoffs by CD4 counts or by types of population that TB co-infected patients would be eligible or children would be eligible. So in 2017, all these conditionalities for ART initiation were removed, and all patients were eligible or are eligible for ART initiation as soon as they are diagnosed with HIV. Next slide, please. In 2016, these TREAT-all guidelines were released by WHO, and since then there has been a shift in the global guidelines towards rapid ART initiation. So TREAT-all actually goes with rapid ART initiation. Otherwise, the entire purpose of actually implementing the TREAT-all policy gets defeated. So in the 2016 guidelines, WHO made good practice statements for the providers, and which said that efforts should be made to reduce the time between HIV diagnosis and ART initiation, and patients should be started on ART after doing a readiness assessment. Next slide. So after the release of the 2016 WHO guidelines, many of the countries, they adopted the same day ART policy. And you can see in this slide that many countries like Kenya, Malawi, Nigeria, Namibia, Rwanda, South Africa, they have either the policy of same day or the ART should be initiated as soon as possible. Next slide. Then a systematic review to understand the benefits and risk of rapid ART initiation were conducted. And we all know that there are always these concerns like whether rapid ART initiation is good for our patients or not. So this study was done in 2018 by Ford et al. Next slide. In this systematic review, 21 studies were included, and these also had 3 RCTs, 11 observational studies, 5 qualitative studies, and 2 costing studies. And in this study, the outcomes of the patients were compared in the standard care arm and also the same day initiation arm. So the review reflected that there was a consistent evidence of improved clinical outcomes and also reduced mortality in the patients who were started on same day. Also, more patients were initiated on ART within 90 days of their detection. Retention in care at 12 months and as well as viral load suppression were also found to be better in the same day ART initiation arms. Next. So based on this systematic review, WHO in 2017 actually revised its guidelines, and they actually issued a new guideline on the management of advanced HIV disease and rapid ART initiation. In these guidelines, there is a very strong recommendation for rapid ART initiation, and it says that rapid ART initiation should be offered to all PLHIV following a confirmed diagnosis and clinical assessment. And because we will be discussing this algorithm in detail at a later stage, but I would want you to please note here that clinical assessment is very important to assess your patients for their readiness for ART initiation. And in these guidelines, WHO defined rapid ART initiation as within 7 days. And then the guideline also said that the ART initiation should be offered on the same day to people who are ready to start. So if the people are found to be ready to get initiated on ART should not be deferred unless there are any contraindications for ART initiation, and ART should be initiated. This guideline also said even the people with advanced disease should be given priority for assessment and ART initiation. Next slide, please. So now coming to the Indian scenario, like what is happening in our country. So you all have seen, and Dr. Chinmay already mentioned about this AOM. So NACO on 11th January sent this office memorandum to all the state AIDS control societies and ART centers, and thereby this clinical algorithm was also provided to guide the ART centers, to guide the medical officers to do a clinical assessment of the patients, so that the patients who are ready for ART initiation can be fast-tracked for ART initiation. Next slide. So before we get into more nitty-gritties of this algorithm, let's have some interaction, and we have some poll questions for you. So if you can answer these questions, it would be really helpful. Praveen, can you post the poll questions? So this question is, average number of new registrations every month in your ART center. These are very simple questions. I'll request everyone to please respond. And it's just a rough estimation. If you don't know exact numbers, it's fine. Just what is the average number? We still have people who have not answered this question. Okay, so most of the sites are saying that less than 20. 48% of the sites which are here, ART centers which are here, they say that they start less than 20 patients every month. And around 40% say that between 21 to 50 patients. And 9% start more than 50 patients, and 3% more than 100 patients. Okay, so I think we can move to the next question. So could you please specify the number of days for ART initiation in majority of the patients? How many days does it take to initiate ART in most of the patients? And we are just trying to assess the situation. So please answer very frankly, like. It could take any number of patients, or it also depends what type of patients you're getting at your ART center. So please frankly answer this question. It could take less than 3 days, more than 3 days, more than 1 week, more than 15 days. So whatever is the answer. Okay. So I think from the ART centers, what we understand is 31% of the centers are already starting the patients on the same day. And then nearly 40%, it takes nearly 2 to 3 days. And another 25%, it takes 4 to 7 days. And then there are some sites where it takes more than a week. Thank you. We can move to the next question. So could you please specify the number of visits which most of the PLHIV registered at the ART center are required to make before ART initiation? How many times on an average are these patients required to come to the ART center before ART is initiated? Please select a poll option. So it's for majority of the patients. Right. I think we have responses here. So nearly 30% of the patient sites are saying that on the day of the visit, on the day of the registration, ART initiation is done. But in most of the centers, and nearly 68 to 70% of the centers, patients are required to make 2 to 3 visits before ART is initiated. Thank you. Praveen, can we move to the next question? So approximate what percentage of your patients are not initiated on ART or they become pre-ART LFU? Less than 2%, 3 to 5% patients are not initiated on ART, 6 to 10%, or more than 10%. So most of the centers are saying less than 2%, and some centers are saying 3 to 5%, and a very few are saying 6 to 10%. Thank you. That's really good that we are starting like most of our patients on ART. We can move to the next question, Praveen. So what is the approximate percentage of the patients who present with signs or symptoms which are indicative of some OI when they come to your ART center? Less than 5%, 9 to 10%, 11 to 20%, or more than 20%? Okay, so Less than 5% of the patients come with some sort of a sign and symptoms, which is indicative of OI. So thank you so much for responding to these poll questions. And I think what we interpret from these poll questions is a lot of the ART centers are already doing same-day ART initiation. For most of the centers, 2 to 3 visits are required to be made by the patients before ART is initiated. In terms of ART initiation rates, most of the centers said like almost 98% patients are initiated, and for some centers between more than 95% patients are initiated. And also for the patients who come with symptoms, most centers said that less than 5% patients come with symptoms, and so more than like 60% of the patients said like less than 5%, and then another 33% said that 5 to 10%. So we can even take this ballpark figure of like say 10% of the patients come with signs and symptoms. Praveen, can you close this poll?
Can you see the slides?
No, I can see the slides also, but the poll questions also. So that has to be stopped. Praveen? Okay, I think, yeah, so we have discussed these results. You can stop sharing the results.
It is ended.
Okay, so you share the results and then I think then it gets closed.
I think you can just close the window, Dr. Reshu.
I can close it. No.
Yeah, anyone can
Okay.
close it. I think.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Done. Yeah. So I think we spoke about like what is happening with the ART centers, and you said like less than 2% patients or less than 5% patients become lost to follow-up in pre-ART care. So at national level, we analyze this data, and after implementation of the treat all policy, what we see is like overall there is some improvement in the ART initiation rates, and it's around like 91, 92%. But what you see here, like even after implementation of treat all policy, we don't start around 15,000 patients, 15 to 20,000 patients every year. So if you like accumulate these numbers, so in last 3 years, around 54,000, 55,000 patients were not initiated on ART, though they were registered with ART centers. And this number could have been higher, but because of the COVID, this year we detected less people. So I think that's not being reflected here. Also, in addition, so this is the gap we are talking about, after registration. So after registration in last 3 years, around 55,000 patients did not get initiated on ART. But then there are gaps between ICTC detection as well as registration. So people are really apprehensive of coming to the ART centers, and because of the various reasons, they are not able to come to ART centers for registration. Next slide, please. So, and also in terms of if you see the NACO data in terms of implementation of the 90-90-90 cascade, the ART coverage is around 62 to 64% still, though we are implementing treat all for last 3 years. So here because most of you answered that there are 2 to 3 visits which are required to be made by the patients to come to the ART center. And then you also said that only 5 to 10% of your patients are symptomatic or have any signs, symptoms which are indicative of any OI. So let's see what is patient's perspective. So in 2010, NACO actually commissioned this study to understand the reasons for patients for not getting registered to the ART center. And also if they are getting registered, what are the issues or difficulties they face. And like during this study, what was found, like most patients don't come to the ART center, don't get registered because they feel that they don't need ART, or they are not having any problem, they are not having any symptoms. Then because of the financial issues, and then multiple visits required before registration. Similarly, the patients who get registered at the ART center, they also said that they find it difficult to come to the ART centers because of the transportation issues and distance from the ART center. Also, the financial constraints or the loss of wages they have to incur every time they come to the ART center. Some of the patients, they also said that because of the waiting times at ART center, multiple visits to the ART center, or not having any provision for childcare at home, they are not able to come to the ART centers. Next slide, please. In the same study, patients were also interviewed, and these are some of the testimonials from the patients. What were the real issues they were facing? And because you all work with, work at the ART centers and you interact with the patients on a daily basis, you would be able to identify with these problems which patients genuinely face every time they come to the ART center. So you would be able to correlate these better than I will do. So these were some of the testimonials which we had. So one patient, a 32-year-old female patient, said that I had financial problems. For that reason, the day I visited the center, I did not eat the food. One patient from AP said 2 times to come to ART center means a lot of expenses that I spent traveling and loss of work on that day. Another patient from Karnataka said, I'm suffering from paralysis, so I may not be able to walk properly. That's why my mother came along with me. She's also facing health problems. I suffered a lot while traveling. My husband and I are going to work. If I took leave one day, then we lose our job. I cannot go to ART center alone because I do not know anything in Bijapur. So these are some of the reasons these are some of the issues which really the patients face while coming to the ART centers, getting registered, or coming back to for their ART initiations. Next, please. Some more testimonials. So a pregnant woman explained that from my village to ART center is very far. There is no direct bus. Roads are not good. I am pregnant and it's very difficult for me to travel. Another testimonial, my husband did not tell me about his status, while my sister-in-laws and father-in-laws knew that he was ill because of HIV. I did not get any support for my in-laws or my family members after my husband's death. I got tested on my own. Another one, I do not have money to travel to this district hospital. We are poor. I am a widowed person. I'm not doing any work. There is no income for my family. I have 2 children. I'm struggling to feed my family daily. A 33-year-old female from Mudhol. It took me months to get a PE, and this is something from TI outreach workers. It took me months to get a PWID client tested for HIV. I got him to ART center after lots of effort, but needed to bring him again for ART initiation. He's not willing to come now. So reading all these testimonials, and you know the real stories from your ART centers, that what issues do the patients face when they come to the ART centers. It's really very easy for us to say to the patient that, okay, you get these lab investigations done, or you get these 3-4 things done, and you come for the next visit. But just think about the patient who has been newly diagnosed for HIV, has come to the ART center after a lot of effort, and if he does not if he or she is told that he has to come back again or again, and as we saw from our data that most of the patients are required to come at least 2 to 3 times before their ART is initiated. So just think from patient's perspective, as a whole, how much misery is caused to the patients, and it's really difficult for these patients to really to come back again. They might really find issues in getting they might like postpone their visits to come to ART center again, or even if they are coming to the ART center because for the ART initiation, they are really like suffering because of the travel issues or because of the financial issues. So this is something which is very important, which we should keep in mind, that if our patient don't require to be coming to the ART center or pay multiple visits for ART initiation, why should they? Next slide, please. So, I mean, we do completely understand, and when NACO TRG discussed about the rapid ART initiation in the country, there was a lot of discussion about balancing the public health approach and the individualized care. And we were also looking in on the WhatsApp group for the HIV physicians in India, and there were lots of concerns which were raised by many of the ART doctors when this OM was issued. So it's always very difficult to have a fine balance between the public health and the individualized care. But I think it's very important to understand that when we talk about public health care, we talk about how do we maximize the patient outcomes as a whole in masses, not just to have an overall impact on the PLHIV's life. And then also there is intention to achieve epidemic control, to improve the coverage and access to ART. And the most important thing is to keep the patient's convenience in mind. But then public health does not mean that you are not actually taking care of the individual aspect or individual needs of the patient. But we do get sometimes we do get caught up in this question, what happens about the individualized care about my patient? If they are having any OI, if they are having any comorbidity, are they really prepared? So we do struggle about these questions and what happens. Next slide, please. So the answer for this is your patient has to be at the center of your decision. How do you handle your patient, or when do you initiate ART in your patients? It has to be a patient-centric decision, and you have to keep your patient at the center. And now we are talking about the differentiated care approach. So even from the very beginning, this differentiated care approach has to be in the mind of the ART doctors and counselors and the other providers. So all your patients, and we saw the poll which you did, that only 5 to 10% of your patients come with a sign or a symptom which is indicative of OI. That means your 90% of the patients, they come to the ART centers and are not having any symptoms or are not having any contraindications for ART initiation. So if they are not having any contraindications for ART initiations, they should be considered for rapid ART. But some of your patients who come these 5 to 10% of the patients which you in the poll which you said they come with the symptoms and signs, they might be having some OI or comorbidity, and they need to be thoroughly worked up for those comorbidity or OI, and they should be managed before ART initiation. And that's how you have to balance this approach. So this algorithm is not it's not giving just one signal that we have to move towards same day ART initiation or towards rapid ART initiation. But this algorithm is actually designed in such a way that you are able to screen your patient so that you are able to identify the needs of the patient. And most of your patients are do not have any contraindications for initiation of ART when they get registered. And that's something we should consider for ART initiation. But if your patients are sick, if they are ill, they are having any signs and symptoms, they should be investigated properly. They should be investigated thoroughly, and they should be managed appropriately, and ART should be initiated as per proper NACO technical guidelines. So with all these things in mind, NACO actually adopted this rapid ART algorithm. And if you see the rationale behind, to sum up the rationale behind adoption of this rapid ART algorithm, one, we wanted to strengthen the treat all policy under National AIDS Control Program. So as I said, still, though we are implementing treat all, we are losing patients year on year, which are accumulating. And in terms of epidemic control or achieving 90-90-90 targets, India is way behind. Secondly, NACO wants to ensure universal access to ARTs, that every person, like irrespective of the circumstances they are in, they should have like no access to ART, and like no unnecessary visits or financial burden or travel burden should not become a constant for them. Also, to bridge the gaps between HIV detection and ART initiations, reduce the pre-ART LFU, then to benefit the PLHIV who are in hard to reach geographies or who belong to a hard to reach population, especially KPs or pregnant women or pediatric patients who cannot come to ART center on their own. They need somebody to accompany them. So it's very difficult for them to even come to the ART center. And especially if the question is about hard to reach geographies, even like traveling, say, 20 kilometers take 3 hours in some of the geography. So we have to be like mindful about those things. Then like to achieve the epidemic control and achieve the NACP targets, NACO plans to decentralize ART again to reduce the gaps between HIV detection and ART initiation. So that is also one of the reasons for adopting this algorithm. In terms of the patient benefits, this helps in faster viral load suppression, in achieving a faster viral load suppression reduction, and by initiating ART in a timely manner, you are reducing the OIs and TB, and thereby you are reducing the mortality. And in fact, even the patients with ART who are having advanced disease because they are immunocompromised, their CD4 counts are low, they also require ART to be initiated as soon as possible. Also, because if you start your patients in a timely manner and if you don't lose your patients, they would achieve a faster viral load suppression and the transmission risk would reduce. And this in turn will also help in reducing the stigma. And then from patients' perspective, obviously, travel inconvenience and the financial burden are a very important factor to be considered. So with this, I'll hand over to Dr. Anwar to discuss the algorithm in detail.
Thank you, Dr. Reshu, and good afternoon, everyone. So now we will be talking about the algorithm for rapid ART initiation, how it is to be done, and if there are any concerns, we will discuss those concerns towards the end. At present, when we start ART into the ART center, to any patient, whenever the patient is diagnosed as HIV positive at ICTC, patient is sent to the ART center. So we register the patient in HIV care into our ART center. We need to ask detailed history, clinical history, and we do the clinical examination and laboratory evaluation to assess the baseline status and the WHO clinical staging. If patient is eligible for any chemoprophylaxis like CPT and all that, so we start with the chemoprophylaxis. And if we diagnose any opportunistic infection, we treat the patients for opportunistic infection. If the patient is having advanced HIV disease, then we provide the package to prevent the new OIs and also to manage the other OIs and diagnose the other OIs. And the important part of the ART initiation, and one of the most important parts is again to assess the preparedness of the patients, which actually starts at the ICTC. So it is not supposed to start at ART, but it has to be reinforced at ART center. In the post-test counseling, ICTC counselor talk about ART. So that from that point onwards, preparedness of the patients for ART starts. And we, as a counselor, we also identify the psychosocial needs of the patient and we address those, and timely initiation of ART. So this is already in the guideline what we follow. So in this specific session, we are talking about the rapid ART initiation or timely ART initiation. So treat all recommendation when they came in 2017 for all PLHIV irrespective of CD4 count. So it supports the initiation of or rapid ART initiation, which includes the offering of same day initiation when there is no any clinical contraindication. So we will go through the detailed steps of all these things, that how we can rule out those patients who are not fit for ART initiation when we look at the algorithm itself. So a PLHIV will be assessed for readiness for ART initiation when we use the algorithm, and accordingly we start. And when we start, before that, we have to collect the sample for CD4 testing and other essential baseline investigation, which are necessary and which we do now. So this particular algorithm, it focuses on the clinical screening of the PLHIV for potential presence of common OIs, advanced HIV disease or comorbid conditions. And it has been discussed in great details by Dr. Reshu, and also it's being reinforced, or when you look at the algorithm itself or the NACO OM itself, it says that PLHIV who do not have any such conditions, they can be, or those who are absolutely fit and fine with no any clinical conditions, can be fast tracked for ART initiation, giving them the benefits of timely ART. And PLHIV who have any such symptoms, who indicate any clinical infection or opportunistic infection, who would require further evaluation for diagnosis and management, they in those patients, or if they have any comorbid conditions, other comorbid conditions, so in those patients, ART will be delayed. So we will go through every step of the algorithm. It looks like this. As a first part, when patient comes into the ART center for the first time, we do symptom screening of the patient and we do 4 symptom screening first for TB, like cough, current cough, fever, weight loss, and night sweats. And also there are other opportunistic infections which can be life-threatening if they are ignored, especially cryptomeningitis and any other kind of meningitis. So for which we also ask the relevant history, which includes persistent headache and other symptoms. If the medical officer sees that if there are any symptoms which are indicative of any serious opportunistic infection, at the same time, patient, if you look at the arrow on the right side, if there is anything of this which is present, then patient should be sent to the appropriate diagnostic facilities, or if those facility, or if the expertise are not available at the facility, then expert consultation need to be taken, and or referral if it is required or felt by the medical officer of the ART center. So that is step 1 itself. But if the patient does not have any this serious symptoms or any symptoms indicative of any of the important opportunistic infection, then obviously we do the clinical examination of the patient. And while doing physical examination, if we see these serious illnesses or these serious signs, for example, now temperature more than 39 degrees centigrade, respiratory rate more than 30 per minute, heart rate more than 120 per minute, or altered mental status, for example, confusion, strange behavior, reduced consciousness, or other neurological conditions like seizures or paralysis or paresis, or weakness in arms or extremities, lower extremities, and difficulty in talking, rapid deterioration of vision, neck stiffness, then unable to walk unaided, any other condition that require emergency management. So in the best clinical decision of the medical officer, if they come across any of these signs, then also they have to either get into the diagnosis of the patient, or refer the patient for either hospitalization or expert consultation. But if there are no signs and symptoms of any opportunistic infection, then also a medical officer will look at if the patient has a TB, or if the patient is known case of any kidney disease or uncontrolled diabetes or hypertension. Again, in that situation, patient has to be sent to the for expert consultation or specific management of these conditions. But if the patient does not have these as well, that if the patient does not have any symptoms suggestive of OIs, on clinical examination, patient is absolutely normal, and patient does not have any past history or a history of any chronic illnesses or comorbid conditions, then the patient's readiness will be assessed for ART initiation. Here comes role of preparedness. Again, we'll have to see that how much patient is already aware about ART and how much ready the patient is. And if the PLHIV has any psychosocial concerns or comorbid substance abuse, or involve irrelevant or relevant persons like family and relatives. So we involve the caregivers, and also we talk about the enhanced counseling support. So if the patient is clinically fit for ART initiation, psychologically or socially, or in terms of patient's readiness, we through counseling identify if the patient is ready. So if the readiness is ensured that the patient does not have any clinical issues or psychosocial issues, then we need to initiate ART, preferably on that day itself, so that we don't lose patients after they go from the ART center. But while doing so, what is to be considered? The ART is dispensed for 1 month to begin with. And then concurrently, we need to send samples of CD4 count for like baseline CD4 and other baseline investigations as per NACO guidelines. So we are not saying that, or NACO is not saying that baseline investigations are not important, or CD4 doing the CD4 is not important. Everything is important. But ART initiation will be done on the same day, and concurrently these samples are sent or patient are sent for investigations. But if someone might say that, and those were the questions asked in the national physicians group also, that if the patient has any abnormal results, then what will happen, and how can we follow these patients closely for any other issues? So as a follow-up, within 3 to 15 days, these tests are reviewed. If the test reports are normal, PLHIV to be called back to the are not normal, the person will be called back to the ART center as soon as possible within 2 weeks of initiation. So for all these new initiations which are happening on the same day and even otherwise as well, so ART counselor should call all these patients and ask about their general well-being within 2 weeks of ART initiation, if they are having any side effects or any concerns or any other issues or anything else which indicates of any illness or any other problem. And medical officers should do appropriate management of advanced disease and adjustment of in the ART regimen. And if the patients have any issue, obviously the counselor will ask the patient to come back to the ART center for reassessments. And if the medical officer identifies any of these problems, the ART will be readjusted. Again, OI prophylaxis and other comorbid conditions will be dealt with. And in case of children, again, some special symptoms or signs need to be seen, like lethargy or unconsciousness or convulsion, inability to drink or breastfeed, then repeated vomiting. So all these things need to be seen, especially in case of children. And in case expert opinion is not available in the local facility, then patients can be referred to the COEs. Again, I would like to remind all the medical officer at least that we have moved from the previous NNRTI based regimen to now dolutegravir based regimen. So we don't expect those earlier side effects which we were expecting with the NNRTIs, and which were the main reasons for loss to follow up in all those patients initiated on nevirapine or efavirenz based ART. So now we are initiating patients on dolutegravir based ART. So we expect less of the signs and symptoms when the patients are started new on treatment. So as I said, preparedness is really crucial part of ART initiation process. So ART should be started based on the patient's informed decision and preparedness to begin the treatment. So caregivers also must be counseled. So we'll see in the next slide as well that how important it is. Then ART staff should also be should get familiarized for the new counseling messages around the treat all policy, rapid ART initiation, viral load monitoring, differentiated care, and this new concept of undetectable viral load is untransmissible through sexual route. So these are the newer concepts which are coming in. So our people also should be aware of all these things so that we can perform better counseling. So preparedness counseling requires a reinforcement approach. It is not just about having a fixed number of sessions. I cannot say that, okay, if I'm doing 3 sessions, patient will be prepared. Some patients require more than that, but it is again, not just ART initiation. So you can start, but still literacy of the patient can be improved in every encounter with the patient. So whenever we come across either telephonically or in person when we talk to the patient. So quality counseling sessions for preparedness should be continued even after ART initiation. especially during the first 3 months of starting ART, because that is the period when the patients are getting adjusted to the treatment and facing some of the side effects if they have, and it is something which is different from their routine. So all efforts need to be put, not just before initiation of ART, but also after initiation of ART in first 3 months. So counselors should identify PLHIV having risk factors. For example, if someone is having addiction issues, or someone is having some jobs which are not suitable for regular ART intake, for example, truck drivers, or where you expect that the patients might not take ART properly. So in those situations, individualized or focused approach need to be taken. Then peer counseling. We have most of our care coordinators in the ART centers are PLHIV, and also various different key population clients keep coming to us. So peer involving peer since beginning will be really helpful for again to better prepare the patient for lifelong ART treatment. Then at least one counseling session should be provided to the caregiver in the first 3 months of ART initiation. And especially in the case of children, at least 2 caregivers need to be identified, so that if the caregivers change, then the patients will be aware of the, or caregiver will be aware of the ART and nitty-gritties of ART. It's a patient-centric focused counseling should be provided for special groups such as key population, children, adolescent, and pregnant women based on their needs. So some of you might be aware that the operational guidelines of NACO are also being revised. And this is a kind of example which will be included most probably in the operational guideline as well, or will be shared with all of you. It is kind of a checklist for ART preparedness, just to ensure that we don't miss out on anything before we start. You might be feeling as if it is a long list, but trust me, most of you are already doing all these things when you start a patient on ART in your ART center at present. But this is just to make sure that we don't miss out on any of the points. So this list will be soon available to you, so that you can just go through it and check that if you are not missing out on any of these aspects before you initiate ART. So this is ART preparedness counseling checklist. As a good practice statement for ART, rapid ART initiation, it follow the overarching principles for providing people-centric or patient-centric care. Rapid ART start is especially important for people with very low CD4 count, for whom the risk of death is high. I'm sure that people must be concerned about IRIS here. So we'll talk about IRIS also in a couple of slides later. But again, risk of IRIS is something which is manageable risk. But if you delay ART initiation and if you allow the other opportunistic infections to infect our patients, risk of death is higher, which is obviously irreversible. As a clinician, I think the medical officers are equipped enough to manage the minimum or the lighter form of the IRIS. And even if in case if it is severe, we are able to identify those signs and symptoms, and we can withhold or we can modify the treatment as if it is required. But delaying ART initiation will subject the patient for increasing risk of mortality. Then people should not be coerced or forced to start ART immediately. Having said all this, and should be supported in making an informed choice regarding when to start ART. So even though this OM has come, even though it is beneficial for the patient, but nothing will be done by force, and any of these staff should not put any conditions to the patient that unless you start ART today, something will happen. So that sort of approach should never be taken. So no pressure on the patient, but from our side, we understand that what are the benefits of same-day initiation. So from our side, we need to make all the possible efforts to convince the patient that how good it is for the patient to start ART on the same day. Then those PLHIV who are unable or willing to start ART on the same day, should be offered the opportunity to start ART within the 7 days of diagnosis. Please note here that we are saying that within 7 days of diagnosis and not the registration. So by the time patient comes to the ART center, it usually it is after some time of the diagnosis at ICTCs. Then all PLHIV newly initiated on ART should be actively called by the counselor within 2 weeks of ART initiation and supported to ensure the retention in care, particularly within the first 3 months. This will be just a repetition for some of you. You know that if you identify any OI, based on which OI you are dealing with, opportunistic infection you are dealing with, there are timelines for ART initiation. So till now, whatever we have discussed is for those patients who do not have any signs and symptoms suggestive of OIs. But if you see any signs and symptoms suggestive of OIs, you diagnose them and you start treatment. And it depends on what OI you are dealing with when you will initiate ART in those patients. For example, if we are talking about TB, if it is just pulmonary TB, uncomplicated TB, as soon as patient is settled on TB treatment, you can start ART. But if the CD4 is less than 50, then immediately ART is to be started within 1 week's time. So, but again, it may not be on the same day. You start TB treatment first. As soon as patient is settled down clinically on TB treatment, you can start ART. For PCP, treatment lasts usually for 3 weeks. So treat the PCP first, and then it is recommended to start ART. One of the conditions of the two where we delay ART initiation is cryptococcal meningitis. So in the conditions like other fungal infections, again, you start the treatment, and as soon as the patient is able to swallow or clinically better, you can start ART. But in cryptococcal meningitis, you need to delay ART initiation for 4 to 6 weeks for the risk of serious immune reconstitution and inflammatory syndrome, because here the risk of mortality is higher. So WHO has actually have a separate guidelines on cryptococcal meningitis management, and this particular OI has been kept separate where ART initiation is specifically delayed, which means again all the other OIs you can safely start ART once the patient is settled on the treatment of OIs. TB meningitis, if you see, that is another condition where also we delay treatment of ART or initiation of ART, but not more than 2 months. So it is again based on the clinical discretion of the treating physician when to start ART, but obviously in these cases we delay ART a little bit. Other OIs, again, we have to start treatment of opportunistic infection first, and then only we start treatment of the antiretroviral treatment in those patients. So again, malaria, treat malaria first, diarrhea, again, start treatment of diarrhea first, then start ART. Most of the diarrheas or some of the common diarrheas in HIV, they get better only after ART initiation. Again, anemia may be caused because of HIV itself. So unless you start ART, anemia do not get better. Skin conditions, again, there are many conditions in HIV positives, so which are where there is no specific treatment as such. Once you start ART, those conditions get better, in which again PPE, and there are other conditions as well. Cytomegalo, CMV, again, start treatment for CMV urgently, and 2 weeks later you can start ART. Toxo, you start treatment of toxo, and after 6 weeks you can start ART. So this is again my probably last or second last slide. Parameters for monitoring after ART initiation. First of all, we have to monitor the response to therapy in terms of clinical improvement of the patient. Like, for example, weight of the patient should improve, the minor symptoms should go away, and viral suppression, obviously we are doing viral load after 6 months, and then improvement in the quality of life, CD4 improvement, all those things are monitored as a response to therapy. As I said, monitoring immune reconstitution inflammatory syndrome is really, really important. Most of the IRS will be mild type, or it will not be life-threatening. But obviously that cannot be predicted as such. It depends on, again, many factors based on CD4, based on how the patients are taking treatment or not, and patient was on prophylaxis or not before. So all those things need to be monitored very closely. So 4-symptom screening need to be properly done all the time, even after initiation of ART, and close monitoring should be done after 6 months, because most of the immune reconstitution syndromes that happens within 6 months of time. And with the serious OIs, again, those specific questions need to be taught to the patient, that if they get any of the symptoms, they should report back immediately. ADRs, fortunately, in the regimen which we are using these days, has less and less side effects. We know that tenofovir can cause nephrotoxicity, but we are doing the serum creatinine. We are sending sample for serum creat to begin with, and also we are monitoring the clinical profile of the patients. So CNS toxicity, now we are not using efavirenz as the initiation drug. Again, hepatotoxicity will not be a common thing to see. So and because we are not using NNRTS, you won't see any serious reactions like we used to see for because of nevirapine. But still, you can get some rash in some patients, but that can be monitored and managed easily at the ART center itself. Obviously, if there is any kind of serious side effect or adverse reaction, then we'll have to take appropriate decisions to change the ART. Treatment failure, obviously the way we monitor treatment failure, like doing 2 consecutive viral load, if the viral load is high or more than 1000 after 3 months, and with appropriate step up or enhanced adherence counseling support, that need to be done. So first viral load will be done at 6 months, then 1 year, and then annual viral load will be continued. And in the clinical, for immunological monitoring, again, we see CD4 counts regularly. And for clinical, obviously, we do the T staging of the patient, WHO T staging of the patient in every visit. So this is the last slide before if the question answers that. In this session, we discussed about rapid ART initiation or same-day ART initiation. So rapid ART can improve the program outcomes by improving linkages with ART and reducing the pre-ART LFU in the preparedness phase. Initiation on the same day with no significant opportunistic infection and comorbidities with recommended prophylaxis is really helpful for the patients. Deferring ART in PLHIV co-infected with TB or cryptomeningitis or any other significant OIs, so that will be at the discretion of the treating medical officer. Then the preparedness counseling to be continued for 3 months with intensive follow-up and monitoring. So that's it from our side. If there are any questions, we will be happy to take. If there are any, first, I think we can go with the questions in the chat box. If we have any, Divya, Shweta, that you can just read those questions so that we can respond. I would request Dr. Chinmay and Dr. Reshu also to respond to the questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Anwar and Dr. Reshu. Thank you so much. I mean, for taking all our participants through what is there in the algorithm. I mean, that is, I'm sure those who attended today's session attentively must have gained a lot. 2-3 things I want to reiterate from the presentation of today. One is, let's remember that preparedness counseling is really important. Though we don't want any patient to be in the pre-ART stage for long, though we want everyone to be initiated on ART on the same day preferably, still we'll have to ensure that we are doing preparedness counseling very well, and we are doing intensive counseling and follow-up by the counselor for the early 2 to 3 months. This is one. And second, I want all the ART staff to be ensuring that they have a good referral network. If there is a patient who needs to be referred for comorbidity management or co-infection management, they should know where to send so that we don't delay, so that the patient doesn't go around and doesn't know where to reach and how to come back again. So this is second thing. And third, please ensure that you know whom not to give ART on day 1. Which are the patients who should not be given ART on same day. Please make sure you are aware of that. So, I'm sure if you have listened attentively to this session, you will definitely remember that if there is any co-infection, any comorbidity, or any person presenting with a serious illness, sign or symptom, has to be not started on ART on day one. So please remember this. And I'm sure whatever questions you have, please feel free to ask all the questions.
So we have two questions in the chat box, which are for transition to DTG based regimens.
Yeah, you can read questions.
Yeah, one is when the ZLN and TLN would get transferred to DTG based regimen. And the second is, should clients on ZLE be put on TLD if they are totally suppressed?
So ZLN and transition of patients who are on ZLN and TLE is the current guideline. For the patients who are on TLN or ZLE, you will have to wait for NACO office memorandum. But ultimately, all these patients are to be transitioned to a DTG-based regimen.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Reshu. Actually, we have enough stock of nevirapine and efavirenz right now. So please wait till you get OM from NACO regarding transition of ZLN and TLN to TLD.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants are requested to unmute themselves if they have any questions, or they can type in the chat box.
And also, like when we did the polls, many of the centers said that they are already implementing same-day ART initiation. So if some of the centers, they want to share their experience, they are most welcome.
There's a question in the chat box. Can IPT be given with chemo?
Initiation of IPT guidelines are different. So it can be, essentially it can be given with chemo prophylaxis, but only thing is that for initiation of IPT, you should start ART first and you should see the patients for 3 months. If the patient develops any signs and symptoms of TB or not, if the patient develops, you treat the patient for TB. And after 3 months, if the patient does not have any TB and settled on ART, then you start IPT.
Yeah, the next question, can we start CPT and ART together?
Yeah, there is no problem as such. See, when we were using earlier regimens, especially nevirapine and all, we were concerned more about the dermatological adverse effects from Septran and also from sulfa drugs and also from the nevirapine and all that. And that time it was really confusing to diagnose the cause of the skin sensitivity. Of course, in rare cases, lamivudine also may cause skin reactions and all that, but that is again rare. So in current scenario, when we are using TLD based ART, you can safely use CPT also along with that. So, but again, close monitoring need to be done. And also, if there is anything which is deteriorating, or if the patient is deteriorating, or the adverse effects are getting like or increasing, then obviously we'll have to take that clinical decision.
Next question. As per new guidelines, we can give DTG via IM route once a month. Is it true?
No, it's not DTG. IM is intramuscular, you are saying? If you are talking about injectable ART, that is altogether a different topic. So it's not there in the program, or it's not there in the actually any recommendation as such. So it is oral DTG only.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Anwar. We would also like to know which is that guideline you're referring to where DTG is being given in the intramuscular route. Please let us know. And yes, as Dr. Reshu mentioned, there were around 37 or 40 ART centers who said they're doing same day initiation. So can we have some, I mean, some of you speak out, what is your experience and what challenges you're facing when you do rapid initiation, I mean, same day initiation? Can some of you please unmute yourself and speak out?
Some patient madam, some patient complain of headache, fever, and gas formation. So side effects of dolutegravir.
Those are general side effects for any drugs, ma'am. So if
Generally they complain for severe headache. Is it?
So that has nothing to do with starting on the same day of ART registration. So that is a side effect of the ARV drug. So, so definitely, so now since you are doing rapid initiation, so while you're counseling the patient, you have to tell them in depth that these are the possible side effects that might come up. And so the patients are aware that it's only a small side effect which will go away with time.
Yes,
so please make sure that, yes, Dr. Anwar.
No, just to add to, because if it is a severe headache, then also the other OIs need to be ruled out if the patient CD4 is low.
Maybe if there is no OIs, if there is no OIs, the fungal infections are not present.
Yeah. So no, it's not
At
reported like
symptomatic.
Unlike Zidovudin and all, we used to say, no, patients used to get headache and also vomiting, and those were more with Zidovudin, but with dolutegravir, it has not been documented as such. But obviously we'll have to keep a watch on it, because this is the first time, even when NACO has introduced dolutegravir at this scale. So we will be keeping a watch on this.
Yes,
I think, maybe you can
the algorithm. The first line, if you read in the algorithm, it says that if there is a persistent headache, I mean, which has been persisting before the patient was initiated on ART, then you are going to send the patient for expert consultation, right? So make sure that these things are taken into consideration when you start on same day ART.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Also with DTG, insomnia has been reported. So maybe if your patient is complaining of headache, it could be because of the non-sleep also. So maybe you want to probe into that issue.
Yes.
There's a question in the chat box. Without CBNAT, initiation is correct. Is it okay to initiate ART without CBNAT?
Yeah, absolutely. CBNAT is not the baseline essential test as such. Only in symptomatic, if the patient is having cough, and obviously we have said that if the patient is having cough, the investigations will be done, and we won't start before ruling out active TB as such.
Yeah, Dr. Anwar, thank you. Actually, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now you know that you have to initiate the patient on ART rapidly, but you please remember which are the conditions when you're not going to initiate the patient on same day ART. This is one of the conditions. If the patient has any of the 4S symptoms positive, then you are definitely evaluating the patient more and not starting on ART on same day. So please remember which are those conditions to consider for not initiating on same day, right?
And from this center, we would also like to know, are you doing CBNAT testing for all patients newly registered at ART center?
Yes, madam, we really do that.
So that's not the guideline. So you have to do a 4-symptom screening. If the patient is symptomatic, then only you subject the patient for a CBNAT testing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, next question. Can PLHIV be vaccinated for COVID?
We have already sent the guidelines for COVID vaccination in PLHIV. So it's the same as for general population. unless the patient is immunocompromised. Right? I mean, you can follow if you haven't got the guidelines, the guidance note of ministry, please let us know. This has
We haven't got the... Hi, this is Dr. Upasana from FIRTG in Haryana. And we haven't got the guidelines you're talking about related to COVID. So if you could make sure that we receive it on our emails.
Okay. So we have sent it to all the states. So if you want to send it to ART centers as well. So we'll forward it again.
Yeah.
It's the same guideline that has been issued by the ministry, wherein we have reiterated about PLHIV being not contraindicated for vaccine. So you can ask your SACs for the copy also.
Okay. Also, I have one concern. So there is one scenario where there's a patient who walks in and he says that he's registered at some other center. Let's say he's registered at Jaipur, and he comes to me and he asks for medicine since he doesn't have any medicine left with him. And I can't get the record of the patient. So, and I'm supposed to dispense the medicines from my center for, let's say, a day or two, or maybe 10 days. So how do I do that? I mean, I can dispense it, but where do I put the record in? Or how do I confirm that the patient is from that center or not?
You're saying patient coming without green book?
Yeah, without the green book.
Without green book, then it is really difficult to say if the patient is HIV positive or not. That also the patient does not have any proof.
Even if the green book is there, I
then
can't.
Then you can give. So those are the NACO standard guidelines since long time. If the patient has come to you, earlier it was we used to report that in patient in transit, but now I think Dr. Chinmay, it has changed, right?
I got to attend this other meeting related to Soch, that new portal that you have introduced these days. So they said that there is one option there of the transit. So if Jaipur people put that patient in transit, then only I'll be able to dispense the medicine.
When you dispense medications, which you should, if the patient has the green book, then in your ART center thing, you need to report that patient under transit. But in Soch, if there are, because Soch is still being it's a very like new, and it's being people are being trained on that. So again, more clarity I would seek, I think, from Dr.
So I would suggest if we could be provided with a telephone directory or the number of the phone number of the people at the center, so that we can contact and let them know or ask them to put the patient in transit, so that we can dispense from our portal. Because otherwise, where do we put it? Like, let's say 10 medications been dispensed to this patient, but there's no record.
No, the option of transit was already there since long time. In your own IML was there, no? So in that option of transit was already there. So where you have to dispense and you report that particular stock under this patient given ART under who was in transit. That was already there. In Soch, now the things are changing, if the parent center will know or not. So that is one thing which I am pursuing.
Dr. Anwar, this is Dr. Samina here. I just want to tell doctor from Haryana that there was a this thing option for global search. When we are dispensing patient in transit, so we used to just either put the name or the ART center name, and then we can search that patient's name there, and then we used to give it. We used to dispense it. That is called the global search. He has to just check it in that Soch now, that whether it is functional or not, because we have been doing that during the COVID. It was quite a helpful thing. Initially, there was no option for global search, but during the COVID scenario, they had put it there. So,
but this has been my concern from so long, and I tried that and I asked people around, but it wasn't working.
It does work. It does work.
Samina, I think that was the detailed explanation. Even Archit was waiting to give the same answer. Thank you for the clarification. I hope, Dr. Upasana, are you clear now?
Sorry?
Are you clear what Dr. Samina answered your query? Are you fine with it? You understood?
Yes, I just have to check on with the Soch, the new portal now.
You get in touch with Archit and NACO. He'll give you more directions. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. Also, there was one more suggestion if you could consider. Can we have a SMS or messaging system connected to SOAT so that we can have a better follow-up with the patients?
That's all coming up. So you just hold on. And in this today's discussion on rapid ART initiation, let's just stick to issues regarding this. We'll definitely consider your issues, but let's also talk separately on these issues. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Dr. Chinmoy, I just wanted to point out that pre-RT LFUs in the like financial year, we cannot get it through the MPR. So it is only the MPR is only showing us the on ART LFUs and on ART deaths and all, because if there's a gap between ART initiation, so these are when I am investigating, then I'm realizing that there are a lot of gaps because of pre-RT deaths and pre-RT LFU. So that record is not there in the financial year. But yes, we have to go back and calculate from the last this thing from the cumulative figures.
Ma'am.
Yeah, tell me, huh?
Yeah, thank you for raising this concern, which has been long pending, that we never talk about any pre-RT numbers in our MPR. But now when the SOACH will be functionalizing and gradually we'll be getting the reports from it, we'll be able to analyze the patient-wise and records of each patient, saying that which has been initiated, which got LFU or which got death in their status with the linkage with their registration number and the initiation date and the registration date. So that's how we will be able to analyze our data more deeply, but gradually. I must not say that from next month only we will be getting, but this is already envisaged and it will be coming soon.
Okay, fine. Because it was such a problem to ask the individual ART centers to give me the pre-RT deaths and pre-RT LFU. I've been collecting data.
I totally agree.
So it was very cumbersome. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, the next question in the chat box, will TLE be continued to patients with Iptoin and Gardinil, even if they are virally suppressed?
No, now it's obviously now we are moving to TLD, right? So, so anyhow, that transition will happen.
Thank you. Our next question is: raised serum amylase a contraindication to start ART?
It depends on how much raised it is. So otherwise, it is like mild change will not be a contraindication as such. You need to make oral diagnosis to decide that.
Dr. Anwar, I want to put a question to you regarding, like, now we'll have to encourage all the ART centers to start for rapid initiation or the same day initiation for patients who have no problems, is it? Yes. So if they're stable and everything is fine with them, so we are not we don't have to worry about the creatinine part. We'll do it in the follow-up tests.
As we said, no. So because even as per current guideline, so we need to do baseline serum creatinine, and then it is only after 6 months. So in this case also, when we are starting ART on the same day, we are collecting sample for serum creatinine on the as a baseline, and we will send it to lab. But simultaneously we will start ART. So and within 2 weeks, patient also is being contacted through phone, and also we'll ask about the results which are collected by the patient usually on second day. But as in this case, we are not inviting the patient. If those reports come back to the ART center, if it is abnormal, you can still call the patients back, or
and then we adjust the doses.
Yes, and or we continue. And again, this will happen in very minority of the patients, but as a team, our people should be very vigilant towards this.
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, so two things on this piece. Basically, one is like now we are like doing things parallelly. So none of the steps which were required for ART initiation is like being bypassed or is being reduced. You just do the things parallelly and not sequentially, so that patients are not required to make multiple visits. That's the only purpose.
Yeah, understood.
Secondly, on the investigation piece, because I read some of the chats on the WhatsApp group also, like people thought that because the reports are actually collected by the patient. So whenever the patient would come back, the patient would collect the reports and then show it to the ART center staff. So in this case, like when you're initiating the patient on ART and doing a concurrent sample collection that very day, the reports have to be collected by the ART staff and then assessed in absence of the patient. And if these reports are abnormal, then patients has to be called back to ART center within 2 weeks. So this is the additional responsibility for the ART staff, and they have to be like somebody from the ART center has to be assigned this responsibility of collecting the reports from lab. Thank you.
Any more questions, Shweta?
No questions in the chat box.
Okay, then can we close the session?
Okay. There's again a request from NPT plus Trichy, CSC, Tamil Nadu. Routine blood tests like HB, LFT, and RFT are not monitored in Trichy and Manapparai ARTC of Tamil Nadu state since COVID-19 outbreak. Till date, these tests are not done to PLHIVs. Request to issue a common circular to all ARTCs regarding routine blood test.
You want NACO to issue a guidance? I mean, it's already there. We have already said that these are the tests that have to be done. I didn't get
so this. Is somebody from State AIDS Control Society there from Tamil Nadu? I think they could actually take up from the medical college or the hospitals there. It seems to be a peculiar problem in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, so we'll request the SACs to take this up. Okay, I think we have come to the end of this session. So thank you, Dr. Eshu, Dr. Anwar.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for your patient hearing and active participation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We will send the recorded link of this session. Yeah, thank you.